I'm Dave Baker.
And I'm Andrew Price.
Welcome to Deep Cuts, the podcast where we pick a topic and walk you through the ins, the outs, and the nitty-gritty, so you can appear like an interesting and idiosyncratic person at your next forced social function. Today's topic is...
Citizen.
What is Citizen? Well, it's an app that purports to be about safety, personal safety, societal safety. But, it's actually a fear-mongering snitch-bait organization that just might end up being the end of all of us, because, why not? Act 1. The enemy at the gate is you. The German word Fernweh loosely translates to a wanderlust for a place you've never been. A false nostalgia. America seems to be suffering from an extreme case of this over the last half-decade or so, with slogans like, "Make America Great Again," and, "Hey, I wish it was the 1950s again, because I'm white and have bought into a false, leave it to Beaver view of the past that never actually existed." Okay, that second one isn't a real political rallying cry, even though it fucking might as well be. America is grappling with the fact that it is no longer the dominant superpower, morally or logistically.
I'll just say the word and we'll move on. Simulacrum.
Our culture is in the middle of a death rattle, where large sections of the population are attempting to convince themselves that we haven't sold our future down the river to the Chinese, the Russians, and the massive oil conglomerates that have been stoking war and conflict for the past literal century. We want someone to tell us we've been right all along. We want anyone to tell us that it's gonna be alright, even if that anyone is us, en masse. Which begs the question, how could you leverage that massive unrest? Easy, with a slogan: connect and stay safe. In generations prior, you would have written a manifesto or staged a revolution against those in power. These days, well, you just develop an app, the true cultural cancer. Spawn, an American tech incubator run by software programmer Andrew Frame, is the key to this story. And as we'll soon learn, cancer comes in many forms. No matter what you call it, it still eats you alive.
And to be clear, that's Spawn with a 0 instead of an O.
SP0N. What is that bullshit? That is some leet speak 1999 bullshit. That's some hack to planet shit right there.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Just stick that 0 where that O is and you've got a whole aesthetic, man.
I fucking hate it so much. Prior to Spawn, Frame had run the telecommunications company named Ooma Inc. and had been an early advisor to Facebook.
And if you don't remember, I couldn't find any links to this. There's like, they don't exist. But Ooma was like this company in like the 2010s that was like an internet phone company where, it's like a landline, but it's connected to the internet instead of a telephone line. And so it's like supposed to be cheaper or whatever. And Ashton Kutcher was the spokesperson for it. And there was commercials with Ashton Kutcher in it.
Man, I have zero memory of that.
Yeah, I remember it. And somebody mentioned it in a video and I remembered it, but I cannot find the commercials on the internet.
R.I.P. Ashton Kutcher.
Yeah, he died.
Yeah, dude. He's no longer with us. He was a good guy.
He died in space in an alternate reality where Mila Kunis let him go to space.
Andrew Frame started with $300,000 and some engineers. After spending a year attempting to develop products for Spawn, I cringe every time I have to say Spawn, but maybe we should just say Spawn like how Todd McFarlane says Spawn.
Spawn. Well, that's why it sucks to say, because when spoken out loud, it just sounds like you're saying Spawn. But then to know that it's spelled SP0N just it somehow transforms the word verbally.
It's the same thing from that guy who was like, I prefer to deal with women in real life. There's no latency. Like, that's the same guy who named this company Spawn.
Fully responsive.
Yeah. Fucking hate it. After spending a year attempting to develop products that went nowhere, Frame landed on something that he thought was a stroke of genius. He had an idea about how to, air quotes, democratize safety, a means by which every man, woman, and child with a cell phone could help police their surroundings, as nightmarish as that sounds. A digital network of Rear Window-esque busybodies, a social network with the explicit purpose of violating your right to unreasonable search and seizure.
Well, I opened up my Citizen app, and I suppose I saw a homeless person was out on my street, and I decided to go out and stab him.
Yep, pretty much.
That's my Jimmy Stewart.
I had no idea what that was. I was just like, oh, you're just doing like an old guy. Oh, all right.
That's like,
if you're doing Jimmy Stewart, if you got to do Jimmy Stewart, it's like, well, I just want a vigilante again. Clarence, wow.
He's quoting "It's a Wonderful Life" in Rear Window.
I just wanna, wow, gosh, I just wanna spy on some people.
I hear zero difference between the two impressions.
Frame and his team developed an app for a literal week and then took it to funding and raised $1 million in startup funds. The working title was Vigilante because of fucking course it was. Vigilante was released on the App Store on October 26, 2016. The app showed users crime happening in real time and encouraged them to be a vigilante, in quotes.
And as a side note, I just found this funny that in a lot of videos, there's a lot of reviews of this app, and in a lot of these videos, a lot of people pronounce it Vigilante.
Vigilante is like it's like the Beverly Hills.
Yeah, I'm a vigilante.
Yeah, I'm gonna be drinking soda water whilst brandishing a magnum and stopping a sexual assault in a shadowy parking garage.
Listen, you rapscallion. I know what you're saying to yourself. Is this finely coiffed gentleman in front of you brandishing a weapon that's fired off 6 shots or only 5? Well, considering that this is a 44 Magnum, the most expensive and luxurious handgun on the market, and it could blow your head clear off of your body to the point where I'd have to put on a smock so that your blood and gore would not get all over my expensive Tom Ford suit. You have to ask yourself, do I feel fortunate? Well, do you, peasant?
Do you feel fortunate? Well, do you, peasant? For I am the vigilante. Excuse me, dearest. Have you seen where I put my hollow points? All right, let's watch this this commercial that they launched online the day that the app premiered, and let's describe this for the listener because man, oh man, this is some Running Man bullshit.
911, what's your emergency?
There's this man following me. I'm under the...
Okay.
So we're seeing gritty footage of a underground parking facility, and there's a young woman wearing medical scrubs talking to her cell phone. Now we're inside of a police car, and there's a super that says 2.9 miles away.
And first and foremost, the very first on-screen text said, as this dramatic music was starting in and it was showing this woman walking on the street and she's being followed and she's calling the police, it said, this is a real app and these are real users, that's not true. These are all actors. Like, this is like, and it's not even like, like if you saw this, it's not even attempting to look like documentary footage or whatever. It's just like it's like a polished, produced commercial. Like, what the fuck does that even mean?
Now we're seeing footage of information being beamed via green laser pointer through the night sky to people's cell phones. And
it comes up with some messages here that I guess are just like messages you get whenever you get a notification on the app. You know, kind of the way that whenever you use like a bird scooter or whatever, it's like, wear a helmet or whatever. Or like Pokemon Go, and it's like, you know, don't do this while driving. It has these messages and it says, don't interfere with the crime, keep a safe distance, good luck out there. So all these people are mobilizing to get to this crime.
This guy, he's literally people running and biking through the city to try and save this person.
The police are trying to get there, but they're still far away. They're still 1.3 miles away.
This is so dark. This is so dark.
This woman is being attacked at her car by this guy. All these citizen users are like running and biking, and they show up and they get the...
And they definitely don't beat the shit out of the guy. They definitely don't kill him. They just point cell phones at him. That's all they do.
Here's the thing. So they all show up and they stop him. And then it says can injustice survive transparency? Here's the thing, though. Kind of in the same way that I was just talking about with, like, the bird and lime scooters. They say, like, put on a helmet or else you can't ride it. Or, like, Pokemon Go being like, don't drive while you're doing this. And, look at your surroundings when you're using the app or whatever. They're just, like, they're sort of, like, obligatory messages that they put in there to escape any kind of legal liability for anything you do that you could just, you don't have to listen to those messages at all. So like it says, it puts up these messages like don't interfere in the crime, but they blatantly interfere in the crime. And I'm not even like, it's not a bad thing if you see somebody being attacked that you should say, hey, stop. Like I'm not saying that's bad at all. If you're walking down the street and you see a woman being like attacked, like at the very least you should say, hey, stop, and like try to save this woman. But the thing says don't interfere in the crime, and it puts that up on the screen as if like, don't worry, we're not encouraging like actual vigilantism, like we're saying don't interfere in the crime. But then they depict these guys interfering in the crime. They directly interfere with it at the end of the commercial. So it's like that message means nothing because you show them interfering in the crime. And also, like,
the name of the app is Vigilante.
Yeah, and also, what do you even do if you aren't going to interfere in the crime? Like, what is the purpose of this app if you aren't going to interfere in the crime?
The name of the app is Vigilante, not Voyeur.
Yeah, it's just like voyeur. We like to watch.
Voyeur. Observation is participation.
Also, you want to know what my favorite part of this commercial is? My favorite part of this commercial is that all of the Citizen app users that are like the heroes, they're all black guys. And then the criminal is a white guy because they're clearly being like, hey, look, this isn't like a weird racist thing where this is going to be used to like disproportionately target black people. All the good guys in this commercial are the black guys, and then we made the criminal a white guy. See, it's like, it's not a weird thing where it's going to be like a bunch of like angry racists targeting like black people that they see walking around in neighborhoods.
I'm Dave Baker.
It's like, it's so obviously that because all of the guys who are the responders, they're all black. And then the criminal is a white guy, which is just so directly an intentional choice.
So, this app goes live on the App Store, and within 48 hours, it gets pulled. 48 fucking hours of this shit. And then, bye-bye. In March 2017, after having worked with Apple to satisfy their safety requirements, Vigilante was reborn. Or should I say, Vigilante was reborn. It was rebranded as Citizen and launched globally on iOS and Android. Let's listen to our boy, head of Spawn himself.
Our boy, old Shark Eyes himself.
Bro, we were going to talk so much about this guy. So much about this guy.
Of events going on in your neighborhood, specifically crimes and police activity. And that is from both citizens reporting stuff, and then some amount of it is provided by Citizen. These alerts, I think, are maybe captured off of things like police scanners and then normalized and then put into the app. Am I correct?
Yeah, that, in essence, that's correct. So we are a safety product meant to keep you safe. And so the way we got to market was the observation that there are police scanners chattering all day long, all across America. They're wide open. We all remember being little kids and going to Radio Shack, for those that are, of course, of our vintage, and listening in to what the police are doing. Now, it was pretty hard to figure out what they were talking about. It was generally hard to hear. It was all 10 codes, but there was an address with every single incident. And so when I was first starting Citizen, I wanted to do something that was mission oriented, and safety seemed to be the ultimate urgent need. And this is back in 2016. Right now, it's definitely hit a boiling point with things like police accountability and all of the social unrest we're seeing. But even back then, right when I was starting the company, there were police killings. If you guys remember when 5 Dallas police officers were shot by a sniper in response to a police killing. This is not exactly a new topic, and the need for transparency was urgent even then. And so when I came up with the idea to sort of democratize all of this public safety information, instead of just giving it to first responders in real time, every time somebody calls 911, that's public information. That's transmitted through the open radios. So why not just give it to everybody? And when somebody's nearby one of the addresses, as long as it meets the policy, notify everybody within a quarter of a mile. That was the original idea.
That's interesting to talk about how transparency was needed because, the transparency was the fact that the police scanner broadcasts are available publicly, that they're on open channels where anybody can listen to them. Like that's the definition of transparency. to take that information and interpret it and create a business around it is not transparency. That's
commoditization.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing to say, because it's very sort of disingenuous.
Because that gets to the heart of this fucking house of cards. Like everything in our country that is peddling safety, it's not really peddling safety, it's stoking fear, you know? I mean, it's weaponized, monetized fear mongering. And it appeals to the worst base human emotion, you know? It appeals to the vigilante spirit that Americans are raised with, you know, unfortunately. Because we're from birth, we're fed images of, you know, cowboys, you know, riding into town alone with a white hat and saving the day, and the individual perception of an event is the gospel truth, not the conglomerate and mass, you know, realization of that event. You know, it's that's why all of our cop movies, there's always a Lethal Weapon style loose cannon who goes off and on their own and breaks the rules because it's the, in air quotes, right thing to do, and the system is working against them because the system is flawed and the individual's perception and desires trump all.
Yeah, which is like a really complicated narrative because, you know, in a lot of ways that is actually true. It's it's such an impossible thing to navigate because there obviously are genuinely corrupt systems in place that govern us, and you know the way in which our country is policed and governed is obviously very flawed. But then on the other side of that coin, I've always been kind of pretty against the idea of like vigilante justice. And we've talked about that on the show before, but I've always kind of felt that way. And I have a lot of opinions about that. But, you know, as we'll see it, as we're going to talk about, you know, in this episode, as we go on, whether it's the stuff about, you know, just taking that one concept alone of like the way that this app can and has been used, as well as other apps like this, to disproportionately target Black people. You know, that's one example that's very extreme of a common issue with vigilante justice, or the concept of vigilantism, which is like you're putting like the idea, you're making the idea of like what is right and wrong very subjective, and you're putting it in the hands of like any random person on their whim. Like, you know, one person could think that, you know, murder and sexual assault is a crime. And you're like, okay, I think we can all agree that that's true. And then the next person could think like fucking drinking Pepsi on a Tuesday is a crime. Like, it's just like chaos whenever you're like, we're going to put the idea of what is right and wrong and punishable into the hands of every random untrained person in the fucking world.
What changes did Spawn make to help Citizen more safe for users? Purportedly, they consulted with New York City officials, police, public safety experts, and civil rights leaders, quote, among others. Citizen only also sent alerts deemed a threat to public safety, omitting calls about suspicious people, suspicious bags, or drug incidents.
That sounds so exhausting. When we did the Napster episode, when it got to the point where like years into the existence of the company, when they were you know in the full throes of the legal troubles, and they were facing just daily existential threats to the company as just a thing that existed. Then they started getting into the like, oh, we're having to have these temps go on and like moderate and like take down stuff that, you know, is copyrighted music, and take down anybody who's seeding Metallica music or whatever. And then you have like stuff like Facebook, where like, you know, a decade into their existence, they finally started having to like do all this crazy moderation and create these AI systems for like getting rid of, you know, we're going to take down anything that's related to QAnon, or we're going to take anything that's related to this, or we're going to flag insensitive comment and things that are dealing with like racism or like misinformation, and we're going to fact check things. Like a decade in, they started to build these things. And, you know, you could argue that they should have done that from the very beginning. I mean, you could not just argue that, but I think that's objectively true. But from the company's standpoint, they didn't have to start worrying about that shit until like years later, when it became like a huge problem. But these guys, just like from the beginning, they're already having to go in and like decide, like make these weird subjective moral snap judgments on like whether something is like deemed bad or whatever. It just sounds so exhausting that they're already having to do that in the beginning of the company. They're already having to go through and just being like, oh, we gotta like make sure that nothing is in here that people are gonna call racist, or nothing's in here that's gonna be called this or that or whatever. It's like, just fucking do a different company. Like this sounds fucking awful.
Yeah, like straight up just do anything else. Literally anything else. Just do that. All right, so let's, the eternal question with all of these kind of new media tech companies is like, how do they monetize? How do they make money? And the answer to that is always a very specific answer, but I'm going to wait to say that until we listen to this clip with our boy Shark Eyes McGee / definitely a human with a soul / totally not a robot who's sent here from the future to fuck us up.
With his skin just poorly stretched over his metal exoskeleton.
Also, the thing that's hilarious about this podcast that he's being interviewed on is that they didn't use Zoom. Like, they didn't use like a screen capture program. So they had a computer screen with him being interviewed and a camera pointed at the computer screen. It's hilarious to me.
Andrew, what's the business model, Assistant? How do you make money?
So the first thing I'll tell you is what it's not. It's not an advertising network. It's not a platform where we scrape data and sell ads against it. We could probably make a lot of revenue if we did that. A lot of the people at Citizen came from those types of businesses and have zero interest in ever building that again. So we are in the process of testing and soon to be launching a subscription service, which is, I'm so excited about this. This is the most powerful personal safety service ever created. Citizen Free is amazing. People are getting tremendous value out of it, but there's only so much we can do in a free product. But Citizen, I can't even give the name yet, but when this comes out, I think it is going to be an absolutely essential safety service, both for your individual level as well as for families.
So Citizen Pro will be a paid service. I'll be able to pay $10 a month for, or $5 a month for, and that's how you monetize.
It will be subscription monetization.
Yeah,
yes.
perfect. And that would, I guess, allow me to, if I'm in trouble, I could hit a button and the citizen community could be activated to know I was having a problem. So if I was being attacked or if somebody was banging on my door, I could say, there's somebody trying to break into my home, and report it on Citizen, and then have that immediately go to 911 as well.
Let's put it this way. This is the complete do-over of the 911 public safety response system.
Ah, okay. Wow. I'm super intrigued. Yeah, because
good old This Week in Startups.
I when I first moved to LA, I interviewed for a job at This Week in Startups. And I went into the interview and it was going pretty well. And they asked me one question and I don't remember the specifics of what the question was.
They were like, okay, Dave, we've loved, everything you've brought to the table so far. You have a great energy. We feel like you could really work for this job. But one last question. This is kind of our make or break question. You know how Elon Musk talks about how he asks that like one question to all of his applicants and like he knows whether or not he should hire them based on their answer in the moment. So this is our question for that. When you're interviewing somebody remotely, do you A, call them over Zoom and record the call, or B, point a camera at a computer screen that they're on?
Yeah. No, it was even weirder than that. It was like towards the end of the interview, they asked me like, who's your favorite scientist or something? And I was like...
And you said, Beekman from Beekman's World, baby.
I think I said like Neil deGrasse Tyson or something. Because I don't have a favorite scientist. And I was like, Neil deGrasse Tyson, I guess. And the woman's face just was like, mm-hmm.
The weird thing about this, and this is a similar kind of vibe as an upcoming episode we're gonna do about Theranos, which was a company that basically scammed the world and stole millions of dollars from investors on a fake product. Where this guy, I've never listened to this podcast. I didn't get the job either.
I was interviewing against you?
Yeah, we were like fiercely competing against each other, but then we actually ended up canceling each other out where we actually ruined the chances for each other to get the job. Like we were both the final runner-up, but then we saw each other in the hallway and we just like got into a fist fight and they didn't give either of us the job. And we've both completely forgotten about it. And we didn't remember that was how we actually met the first time. But these types of podcasts or YouTube shows or whatever, these like business, hustle culture, entrepreneurial bro type shows, Gary V type shit. You know, they're sitting there and they're talking about like ultimately inconsequential shit. Like, oh, like I started a company where we help, you know, serve ads onto OTT video with a auction based ad service or whatever. Or like, oh, we started a company that delivers fucking mice to people's doors. And then the mice eat all the cheese in their fridge. It's like a cleanup service where if you have a bunch of excess cheese, you know, we let mice just like eat it all. And then, you know, we charge you a fee for it. It's like stupid, inconsequential bullshit. And this is what these people talk about on these shows. They just talk about like weird businesses that people make that are just like dumb shit that is just like part of the excess of capitalism. And the Theranos thing was like, it was a startup that was like a Facebook type startup, but it was about like fucking taking blood tests and giving people diagnoses based on their blood tests. It was like real consequential heavy shit that was like very dangerous. They were treating it like a startup making a fucking social media platform or whatever. So this guy who's like used to sitting here talking to people about their dumb, you know, we're like the Uber for butt plugs or whatever.
It's always the Uber and then insert here. We're the Uber of toothpaste. We're the Uber of air conditioning. We're the Uber of police response.
But he's sitting here interviewing this guy about like an Orwellian nightmare world. Like this is like terrible. Like just to be this guy and just be like, man, like, I don't even know if this is like occurring to him or if he's even like registering this, but like you're not talking about the normal thing you usually talk about right now. You were talking about a guy who's trying to like create the fucking police state even more than it already is. Like this is not just like fun entrepreneurial podcast topics.
Yeah, it's depressing as fuck, especially the like sycophantic like, wow, I'm so excited. This is so great. Wow, I can just hit a button and everyone will know that I'm being raped to death. Awesome. Like
almost like calling 911 just already is that. And I'm not saying calling 911 is perfect, but it's probably better than this. Like it's probably better than this fucking app
where you're relying on other people.
Yeah.
Fuck that. But also fuck relying on the police too. Like that shit doesn't work either.
Yeah, but it's better than this. Like it's better than this. This is like the dumbest. This is the worst idea ever.
This is for the listener. I wish you could see Pizza Paparizza's face right now. You know in The Matrix when the blonde woman that wears the white suit right before she gets killed by Cypher, and she's like, not like this, not like this. And then her body goes limp and she falls. I feel like her name is like Twitch or Portal or something like that. She just dies. That's what Andrew looks at right now. He looks like not like this, not like this.
Yep, for sure. I mean that's definitely the emotion. If we're gonna all just be enslaved in a Orwellian police state, not like this, not like this, not at the hands of this fucking dead-eyed. Like there's something just so unnerving about looking at him as he's talking.
Like he really does look like his skin is stretched over his skull.
Yeah, it looks like he is wearing somebody else's skin as a face.
He's the type of person who his idea of flirting is being in like a grocery store and telling you about his cryogenic chamber.
And then he locks you in the cryogenic chamber afterward and with all the other Tinder dates.
Yeah, the reason why he started his own startup is because he probably got kicked out of every other one for like sexual assault.
Yeah, Ashton Kutcher had to go to HR about him one too many times.
2020 was a breakout year for Citizen, with its user base exponentially growing. With that growth, critics also began to deconstruct the platform's methods more. Some critics noted that Citizen's collection of protest videos were tied to identifying information that could potentially be used by government entities. In response, Citizen said it only gives user data to law enforcement in response to valid subpoenas, court orders, or search warrants.
Yeah, I mean, that's the real thing, though. With other platforms, the way that they sell data to advertisers, like that's kind of the thing, you know, when you talk about like the thing that people say a lot, which is like, you know, whenever you use a service, an app or whatever, like Facebook or YouTube, and it's free, if something is free, that means that you're the product. And so they sell this data of like what your interests are and what the things you watch are and all these things to these advertisers so they can serve ads to you. But for Citizen, that's the danger of what they're going to do with your data. It's not like they're going to sell your data to advertisers. It's that like they're going to create this like network of crowdfunded spy state to like map out like a fucking snitch network of the entire country so that they can sell that information to the government and the police.
I'm Dave Baker. Yeah, man, it's terrifying. It's darkest timeline. Like, this is the foundation that whatever is after Verhoeven's toupee, this is the foundation,
Fucking Andrew Frame's skin flap.
the Frame skin tag nation. Like, we're going there, man. Citizen became a top-ranked news app on the Apple chart on June 3rd, 2020, up from the 744th slot and surpassing Twitter, CNN, and Fox News during the first week of June. Around 600,000 new users signed up for Citizen.
And that part, that's just a whole other level of depressing to me, that it's like, number one, classified as a news app. And it's also like ranking up there with other like quote unquote actual legitimate news apps. I mean, some of these other news apps are also maybe questionable of whether or not they're real news, but it's basically like it's a conspiracy theory app about your neighborhood. It's just people interpreting police scanner information and then just cooking up theories about like who is and isn't dangerous. Like, that's not news. That's just like that. I mean, that's not news. That's just people like fear mongering based on loosely interpreted police scanner calls.
An early criticism of Citizen, once it started to grow nationwide, and especially after it launched its premium subscription service, Protect, a $19.99 a month service that allowed users to live stream their phone's camera and location to a Citizen Protect agent who monitors it and sends instant emergency response in case of an emergency, was that it bombarded your phone with constant notifications and increasingly esoteric, quote, crimes, such as a group of suspicious figures loitering outside of a convenience store 15 miles away from you, in order to slowly ratchet up its user base's anxiety levels in order to make them emotionally vulnerable enough to continue using the app and eventually fork out cash for the Protect service. In essence, it works like any other social media app, hacking into the addiction and anxiety centers of the brain to create a feedback loop where you can't tear your eyes away from the app. Except in this case, instead of getting you addicted to doom scrolling, the increasingly dire state of society and politics, or the ongoing drama of canceled celebrities, it's designed to make you constantly terrified that at any given moment, someone's going to burst into your house and murder you. As a former Citizen employee told Vice in 2021,
the whole idea behind Protect is that you could convince people to pay for the product once you've gotten them to the highest point of anxiety you could possibly get them to. Citizen can't make money unless it makes its users believe there are constant, urgent threats around them at all times.
And though Citizen denies the app works this way, with a spokesperson responding to Vice's request saying this,
it's actually the opposite. With user feedback in mind, we have designed the Citizen home screen so users only see relevant, real-time information within their immediate surroundings.
It seems to be the prevailing sentiment in many of the negative reviews of the app, however.
Basically, there's a number of reviews of Citizen from like circa like 2 or 3 years ago, where they all kind of say the same thing, which is the app is horrible because all it does all day is just constantly send you these push notifications of these just crimes that range from like maybe legitimate things of like a robbery that happens at a fucking convenience store, down the block from you, to like stupid bullshit that nobody would care about. Like, oh, there's like some people standing outside of this building, and then, the whole point of it is they're just trying to make you more and more anxious, so that you're just scared. Like, these notifications are just constantly, making you feel like, oh shit, like the world is a horrible, chaotic place, and there's all this crime, and the only thing I can do to stop the chaos is pay $19.99 a month for Protect or whatever. And all these reviews say the same thing. They're all like, yeah, I deleted it after like 2 days because it was so fucking annoying. And it was just like making me anxious.
Forrest Ray Colson was a friend of mine, friend of mine, friend of mine.
Yes, turning us all into Forrest Ray Colsons.
Yeah, no shit, man. I hope this helicopter doesn't show up on the fucking recording, but I don't want to wait because this is ridiculous. Oh my God.
Come out, Vigilante. Do not resist. Walk out waving your Louis Vuitton handkerchief.
Vigilante! Put something on other than your Hugh Hefner themed smoking jacket that you bought on eBay that Hef actually wore at a party.
That you actually met him when he was wearing it and then you tracked it down.
Other major criticisms of the app as it started to slowly ramp up into the market were that it disproportionately was used to target and profile Black and brown people, and that rather than fulfilling its intended purpose of helping inform and protect people from dangerous crimes going on in their area, it ended up mostly being used by people to complain about local homeless. Citizen has repeatedly denied these issues, saying,
Citizen does not report on suspicious people, nor does it report on people experiencing homelessness. Citizen reports on safety incidents such as car crashes, fires, and searches for missing people.
However, Vice found by conducting an independent study that many of the reported incidents on the app are in fact complaints about homeless people loitering in areas. And, as reported to Vice by a former Citizen employee,
many of the users are insanely racist, which comes out in comment sections that are especially vile even by standards of internet comment sections.
A hacker recently scraped a wealth of information from Citizen, including user comments that repeatedly used the N-word. What's worse is that the entire functionality of the app and community essentially works on incentivizing people to manufacture outrage and fear in order to create incident reports under things they likely wouldn't under normal circumstances. The policing system in the United States is far from perfect, but at the very least, the way the system essentially functions is that when people witness a crime or something that they feel endangers them, they are encouraged to call the police. The system is not incentivized in any way. Yes, people are going to play on their internal biases and prejudices, as well as the anxieties and fears stoked by the horrible talk radio they listen to, and many unnecessary and dangerous calls to police are made. But at least the police aren't personally offering prizes for every 911 call. Imagine calling 911, but every time you did, you got paid. That's what Citizen is. In this dynamic, people start actively looking and trying to find things to report as suspicious. This turns into a self-fulfilling prophecy where suddenly everyone is scary and potentially dangerous.
It's basically an anxiety sweatshop. On days when things are slow, they relax the standards around incidents because a dip in incident count is really bad,
said another former Citizen employee.
It plays into people's anxieties and fears and magnifies people's fears of the other and who and what they think should not exist in their neighborhood or their area.
Chris Gillard, a research fellow with the Technology and Social Change Research Project at Harvard Kennedy School's Shorenstein Center, told Vice.
In a healthy society, we're typically not incentivized to sensationalize mundane events and code them as crime. I can't help but think it plays into people's anxieties and fears and magnifies people's fears of the other. What's really dangerous is the ways they're starting to serve as infrastructure, where people start to feel like they have to use them to maintain society and order.
In March 2020, Citizen introduced a digital contact tracing system, though launch was delayed for months, while Frame, the company that eventually folded Spawn into its portfolio, awaited Apple's approval, due to concerns that combined use of GPS and Bluetooth may violate users' privacy. A compromise was reached by launching the additional SafePass app. On August 13th, SafePass went public, with 700,000 people having tested the product and 10,000 COVID-19 test results reported in that test group.
But essentially is like the one slightly not horrible thing they did was try to capitalize on the COVID-19 pandemic to create a contact tracing app, which, are in theory a good thing.
Yeah, only one problem. And then the other fucking shoe dropped.
Hey everybody, my name is Hilsmer Spotchademon, the Space Hell Demon, and Andrew and Dave are forcing me
What are you talking about, Hilsmer? Nobody's forcing you to do anything. You literally barged in here in the middle of me recording this promo and insisted that you do it. You said that I sucked at it and you could do it so much better than me.
Yeah, exactly. I'm being forced to do it because you suck so much at your job. So anyway, Andrew and Dave are forcing me to get on the microphone today and kind of go over a bunch of the cool deep cut stuff that's going on right now. So first and foremost, Dave is coming out with a new Picture Box book, which I guess are apparently called comics now, all of a sudden. But yeah, the book is called Everyone is Tulip, and it's coming out June 29th, available in all comic stores and stores in general, I guess. And it's written by Dave, and it's drawn by Nicole Gu, and it's colored by Ellie Hall. And it's basically about an aspiring actress who moves to LA to try to make it big, and then she ends up sort of doing these weird experimental performance art YouTube videos and gets mixed in with this sort of identity shattering underbelly of Los Angeles. Yeah, so that book is coming out June 29th, and you can actually read the entire thing by going to everyoneistulip.com, where they're releasing the book page by page as a webcomic leading up to the release of it. Also, you can get official Deep Cuts merch by going to deepcutspod.com and clicking on the shop, or you can go to bit.ly.com/deepcutsmerch, and you can get t-shirts, you can get hats, you can get coffee mugs, you can get baby onesies. You can also get a Mystery Treehouse Investigation Agency patch that you can put on a backpack or put on your jacket by going to deepcutspod.com and going to the shop, or you can actually get that at Dave's shop at heydavebaker.com, or you can get it at Andrew's shop at dapricerights.com. You should also follow Deep Cuts on YouTube by searching Deep Cuts, where we are going to be releasing some cool, interesting, long-form video in the coming months. You can follow Deep Cuts on Facebook, where Dave and Andrew put out these like reaction videos where they watch old movies and kind of react to them. You can also join the Facebook group, which is a group where a bunch of Deep Cuts listeners go to kind of hang out and talk about episodes or talk about random, interesting subjects. A lot of episodes are kind of born in that group. There's a lot of memes that happen there. It seems like just a fun place for fucking nerds that like this bullshit would hang out. You can follow Deep Cuts on TikTok at Mystery Treehouse, where they do short form explainers. So if there's an idea that's like not long enough or in depth enough to do like a full episode on, they'll do like 3-minute explainers on TikTok. You can also check out all the different books and projects that Andrew and Dave are releasing on their websites, dapricerights.com and heydavebaker.com, where they put out comics and books and video projects and anything else they're doing outside the Deep Cuts world, such as Dave's books Fuck Off Squad and Action Hospital, or Andrew's book Deadbolt AI Private Eye. And finally, if you go to deepcutspod.com and scroll to the bottom to sign up for the mailing list, you'll receive a semi-regular newsletter called the Mystery Treehouse Investigation Agency Circular, which collects all the news and new content that Andrew and Dave are putting out and kind of puts it in one place, as well as provides some more commentary, and maybe in the future there might be some cool behind-the-scenes info that's going to be released there. There. Are you fucking happy?
Once again, Hilsmer, you didn't need to do that. You insisted, and in fact, I would have preferred to do it.
Is that the thanks I get?
Get out of here.
Act 2. There's no way to make this funny, so let's all just become doomsday preppers. With Citizen firmly cementing itself as a deeply uncool, low-budget sci-fi movie in the real world, you'd think there'd be nowhere to go but down, right? No way to make this dystopian bullshit even more scary, right? Well, you'd be fucking wrong. In May of 2021, a wildfire broke out in Pacific Palisades, Los Angeles, and Citizen, or more specifically Andrew Frame, saw an opportunity to cash in on the situation to gain some serious credibility in the realm of public security. They received an anonymous tip that the fire had been started by an arsonist, and Andrew Frame launched a campaign to catch him. Citizen had just launched a new feature called On Air, where users could live stream a situation directly in the app. They wanted to be the first app to live stream a wanted criminal being apprehended, and they wanted the credit for the arrest. So they offered a $10,000 reward to anyone who could provide info that would lead to the arrest of the alleged arsonist. Eventually, Citizen had received a photo of an alleged suspect. They claimed that this photo had come from an LAPD sergeant, as well as several emails from Citizen users who claimed that they had been visited by LAPD officers looking for the same man. Andrew Frame had become possessed by what he himself later described as a fury of passion to catch the guy. feverishly typing commands throughout the evening in a company Slack group to citizen employees.
First name, what is it? Publish all info. Find this fuck. Let's get this guy before midnight. He's going down. Breaking news. This guy's the devil. Get him. By midnight. We hate this guy. Get him.
Eventually, Frame ordered for the bounty to be raised to $20,000, but the suspect still hadn't been caught. Tons of citizen users were live streaming around the clock as they searched the streets around the area where the fire had broken out and where they had alleged the suspect was located, but still nothing. Frame then ordered his employees to raise the bounty and send a notification out about the manhunt to every citizen user in Los Angeles, not just those in the surrounding area as the app normally functions. The notification was sent to 848,000 people.
Citizen is on air. Arsonist pursuit continues. We are now offering a $30,000 reward for any information directly leading to his arrest tonight.
The name and other private information of the suspect was eventually found and broadcast on the app to all its users. When an employee in one of the company's Slack groups pointed out that they were violating their own terms of service, which prohibited publishing personal details in the app that could help users learn the identity and location of any person, they were ignored. The manhunt continued for 7 hours.
The more courage we have, the more signups we will have. Go after bad guys. Signups will skyrocket. Period. We should catch a new bad guy every day.
Frame said in a Slack. At a certain point, there were 40,000 people watching the on-air live stream. However, sometime after midnight, the LAPD arrested a suspect. He was the wrong guy. Citizen had just spent the last 7 hours spearheading a live stream manhunt of an innocent man. And then, shortly after the massive cock-up, so shortly after it that it's almost as if it was a huge reactionary pivot meant to quickly divert attention away from the PR nightmare of the Pacific Palisades arson manhunt fiasco and also turn the company's entire business model and purpose around on a dime once Andrew Frame realized that maybe creating a crowd-based crime-stopping network was maybe a little more complicated than he originally thought. People started spotting citizen-branded tinted vehicles patrolling around the metropolitan areas in Los Angeles, and the Citizen app was about to somehow become a lot creepier. Brandon Werner wrote for Vice's Motherboard,
Crime and neighborhood watch app Citizen has ambitions to deploy private security workers to the scene of disturbances at the request of app users, according to leaked internal Citizen documents and Citizen sources. The plans mark a dramatic expansion of Citizen's purview. It is currently an app where users report quote-unquote incidents in their neighborhood, and based on these reports and police scanner transcriptions, the app sends real-time safety alerts to users about crimes and other incidents happening near where a user is located. It is essentially a mapping app that allows users to both report and learn about crime, or what users of the app perceive to be crime, in their neighborhood. The introduction of the in-person private security forces drastically alters the service and potential impact that Citizen may offer in the future, and provides more context as to why a Citizen-branded vehicle has been spotted driving around Los Angeles. The news comes after Citizen offered a $30,000 bounty against a person it falsely accused of starting a wildfire. The broad master plan was to create a privatized secondary emergency response network, one former Citizen employee told Motherboard. The email added that the user and agent experience needed to be improved, and that Citizen was reviewing the results with Securitas to make those improvements. The email also named LAPS, or Los Angeles Professional Security. On Friday, Motherboard reported that Los Angeles Professional Security is linked to a Citizen-branded vehicle driving around Los Angeles. A Citizen spokesperson told Motherboard that the vehicle is part of a pilot program, but declined to say exactly what the program consisted of. On its website, Los Angeles Professional Security describes itself as a, quote, subscription law enforcement service. The internal Citizen email says the company is an additional response partner. A Citizen spokesperson told Motherboard that LAPS offers a personal rapid response service that we are testing internally with employees as a small test. For example, if someone would like an escort to walk them home late at night, they can request this service. We have spoken with various partners in designing this pilot project. The spokesperson did not address other questions from Motherboard about the content of the leaked emails. One of the emails says that Citizen has pitched the security response service to the Los Angeles Police Department at a high level. The email claims that the LAPD said the solution could be a game changer. The email adds that the LAPD has been overrun with property crime, and the agency has effectively thrown its hands up because they don't have enough officers on the street to respond to these sorts of calls. The LAPD did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Experts have criticized Citizen, saying the app may lead people to report things that aren't crime and may foster racism. Honestly, Citizen as an app doesn't need to exist, and it's more and more apparent as the months go on that leadership is just a bunch of scum, the former employee said.
And there you have it. We're here, in the wasteland, waiting for a private guerrilla army to be summoned by our Aunt Tilly's overactive imagination to come knock down our doors and kill us in our sleep. Thank God, at least we have the actual police to protect us from the wild roaming gangs of cell phone-wielding idiots and private militias. Oh, wait. Yeah, there's so much to say about this, and yet nothing to say at all because it's so fucking bleak. It's like, what the fuck is the point? The thing that's most interesting about this to me, not the fact that this is like crack cocaine for would-be authoritarianism surrogates. It's not the fact that it is, as we've previously discussed, appealing to the worst base instincts of the shifts in our culture politically. It's the fact that Andrew Frame is so nakedly a piece of shit, and everyone's just like, yeah, makes sense. Let's give this guy money.
Yeah, I mean, it's we've talked about this extensively on other episodes, several other episodes. That we've gotten to a point where we've put the world and the direction of our society and our culture in the hands of these like startup tech bros like Mark Zuckerberg, who created these companies, where like on their face they were just these social media networks that are just like harmless, like come on here and connect with people you knew in high school that you haven't seen in years or whatever. But the way that they've evolved into being like the primary sources of information and communication, we've basically like retroactively just like been like, yeah, I guess Mark Zuckerberg just controls all of society and everything about how our world functions is like at his whim now. How did that happen? How did we get here? And like that was more subtle because of the evolution of how Facebook and YouTube and Twitter evolved into what they are now. But this is that like on fucking PCP, because it's just like we're just gonna like allow some random dude who fucking knows about his intentions, his what drives him, the things that he's motivated by. Who fucking knows? Because he has not been vetted in any way, shape, or form by anybody, by any organization, any authority, anything. He's not been vetted at all. He's just a dude who started a company like anybody in this country can do. And we're just going to be like, yeah, you can like just become, you can just make a citizen fueled like guerrilla vigilante army that polices the country.
Yeah, we're totally cool with you having, we have 3 branches of government: the executive, the judicial, and the citizen. That's cool, right? We just, we're just gonna have courts. We're gonna get rid of the congressional wing, separate but equal branches of government, one of which is just populated by a bunch of screaming yahoos with iPhone 7s.
Yeah, and it's like, and the whole thing is just so the waters are so muddy. Yeah, it's just you're knee deep in dookie.
It's sewage, bro.
Because because this whole thing is built on this idea of like the fucking M. It's like there's the horrible child murderer who's walking around. The police aren't doing anything about it. And so like the people of the neighborhood are going to take care of it. And they're going to like bring this monster to justice. Like that's the ideal of this, where it's like in a vacuum of nobody, of like the proper channels or the proper authorities not properly handling this, it's going to be handled. Like there's nothing inherently wrong with that idea. And we've seen, historically that the systems that, as I kind of said earlier, the systems that govern us and police us are just very corrupt, and they've had a history of corruption. Like the police corruption that existed, prior to the 1920s, that was largely, reformed in the 1920s, and then kind of the cycle started over again. There's some truth to that, so it makes it so complicated, because it's like, yeah, like we shouldn't just blindly trust the authorities that govern over us because there is a lot of corruption. But that doesn't therefore mean that this is the solution, because this is just utter chaos. This is just like because it's like one of those, it's an equation where you got to take into account like who would be interested in having this app. And the people that are interested in having this app are not like, you know, a normal person who's just like a little concerned about like the people who want Citizen and want to have this app on their thing and want to participate on it are not people who just like in good faith are like interested in protecting the people in their neighborhood from like rapists. Like that's not who wants this app. The people who want this app are people who just have this weird sadistic fascist fascination with like wanting to punish like anybody who they deem as like a heretic or like a deviant.
I mean, it's the same thing as the enjoyment of getting to watch the gladiatorial games of To Catch a Predator, right? It's that same.
Well, it's those people. It's those exact people. Like the people who have this app are the people who are just like, I would want to like watch a pedophile be beheaded in public. Which is like, you know, once again, it's that muddy waters where it's like, I'm not defending pedophiles. I'm not saying that they should be sympathized with or empathized with. It's a horrible thing and they should be punished to the fullest extent of the law. But there's also maybe something wrong if you just like get off on the idea of wanting to like murder one. Like that seems not healthy. And if you have an app of hundreds of thousands of people who like have those kinds of urges and desires, like that's a recipe for like creating unruly, angry mobs of vigilantes that have like a dubious at best idea of right and wrong.
Let me ask you this as just like a thought experiment. Is there a good version of Citizen? Because even just like the platonic ideal sounds nightmarish to me and horrible, but is there a version of this that's like helpful in any way?
Well, it's interesting because I think the app there is kind of there's a platonic ideal of the app that to me sounds relatively harmless, where there's sort of like two different types of Citizen users, or at least there was supposed to be. And one of them is these people that want to participate in this, and they're creating reports, and they're like following these live streams, and they're participating in like helping like track down people or whatever. And that's like the dark thing that I think is just like inherently Orwellian, and, you know, kind of Orwellian in this way that I don't think even George Orwell ever like anticipated in any of his ideas, because the whole thing with the Orwellian idea of a police state is that you have this totalitarian government that creates this culture of fear that pressures people into spying on each other because they think that they will get some kind of, reward if they bring information about, people committing thought crimes, to the authorities. But the fucked up situation we've gotten into now is like, there isn't even an authority. There's no big brother. Like, we are the big brother. Like, we want to do this. Like, you give us the tools and then we want to spy on each other, and we want to create these like cultures of fear and heretic hunting.
The worst part of it too is that it's recreational. Like, the thing that's cautionary about 1984, right, is that this is the status quo that's almost this kind of like dark, seedy underbelly, like you're talking about, that, it's not like people are like turning on the TV at night and having, instead of watching Laugh In, they're like spying on their neighbor. But that's what this is. This is, we're going to commoditize cultural betrayal to the point where it's equivalent to watching a basketball game.
Yeah. But there's another like purported usage of the app, which is like, you don't even participate in any of that stuff. It's literally just an app that kind of alerts you, or it's supposed to alert you of stuff happening around you so that you can basically like avoid it. Like, you can be walking around and then it's like, oh, there's like a shooting happening like on, 5th and Broadway, and you're like, oh shit, I was walking in that direction. I probably should turn around. Like that was kind of that's like the light version of what the app is supposed to do, for the people who aren't like weirdly obsessed with like wanting to be like neighborhood vigilantes or whatever. For people who are just like, I just want an app that just tells me if there's like weird shit going on around me so I can like avoid it.
For those non-vigilantes.
Yeah, that is the platonic ideal of the app that I think is like not awful. Like, that's not a horrible idea, that you would want just an app that's just like, yeah, there's a police shootout that's happening like 3 blocks from where you are. Like, just stay away from that area. Like when we went and visited my parents for the weekend, and right when we got into Bakersfield, my parents moved to this neighborhood that's like near like Bakersfield is weird. I mean, it's not any different than like LA kind of, but like it's weird in that like there's like these really nice like upscale neighborhoods that are right next to like really like sketchy neighborhoods. Like they're just like touching each other. So my parents live in a nicer area that's right next to the area that I used to live in, which was like a really bad area of Bakersfield. And so there's this Denny's that we used to always go to. That's just like, it's just like right in the smack dab of like a fucking meth shanty town, basically. And so right when we got into town to go to my parents' house and got off on this freeway exit, there's like fucking 10 police cars in front of this like Carl's Jr. And right as we get out, we see like this police officer like tackle a dude. And then like a block up, there's like another 10 police cars by this Denny's. And there's like police running around. And we were just like, what is fucking happening right now? And, we do like, who knows what was going on, but it would have been like I can see in a situation like that of like, oh, like there's some fucked up shit going on Buck Owens Boulevard. Like, let's take another freeway exit so we don't have to drive by this insanity where there could be like shootouts and shit happening. Like that in theory is fine. But the thing is like, I don't think anybody who tried it out to use it for that purpose, I think they were disappointed and annoyed with the app because it was like, it's not designed for that really. That's kind of what they said. But that's not really what it's designed for. It's designed to make you anxious and paranoid so that you'll pay for this stupid subscription service. So it didn't even exist properly as this like passive, like, here's some information about crimes happening in your area, because it was just annoying people because it kept notifying them about increasingly less important stuff that they didn't care about, that wasn't actually really dangerous to them. Because it's not actually trying to inform them. It's just trying to make them paranoid, basically. But an app that just kind of does that, where it's just like an aggregate of police scanner information that like helps you know if there's like a shooting happening, near you. I feel like that would be fine. Yeah. But even then, like, that's just, there's other news apps that do that. Like, it's not like that's already a thing that's kind of rolled into other apps.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't know. I don't really know how to bring this one home because it's not like there's a silver lining or a lesson to be learned here. It's just dark. This app is going to continue to just be dark and exploit communities of color, stoke racial animus. And apparently in LA very soon, we're going to be dealing with full-on private militaries, which is going to be awesome. I'm fucking excited about that, baby.
Yeah, and I mean it's not even the first of that. Like, there's privatized security has been a growing market for a long time, and I'm not trying to shit talk these guys, but I know several people that work private security, and it's like, I'm not like none of them are people who have any kind of like, they're not weird like power hungry people that just want to like go around and like hurt people or whatever. They're working it because they just needed a job. But that's even more, that's also weird to me, because it's like, these are not people who are properly trained for things. They're just like dudes who just like, I just needed a job. And so instead of working at fucking Burger King, I'm a security guard. And like that's just. Yeah,
but there's a difference between working for a security firm or working as a security guard or even a personal bodyguard level of security, and being a weaponized private police force that is at someone's beck and call based on one button on an app where it's like, I think someone is breaking into my house. Please kill this motherfucker on my front lawn. Those are different things. You know what I mean?
Number one, I actually don't think that a lot of private security is much different from that. It's just, it's more for rich people though.
But that's what I'm saying though, is that's what's terrifying about it.
No, I know, but I'm saying like what you're describing, that is what private security is. It's just, it's not an app. It's like rich people that get to press the button. And this is like, as Andrew Frame said multiple times, democratizing it to everybody. But that's what private security is. It's like, it's giving rich people a button so that they can send out rent-a-cops to like hassle people walking by their house if they, look suspicious in some way.
And things like Blackwater obviously have existed. And, yes, there's a long lineage of the 1% having access to things that the rest of us don't. But that's what's so scary about this. I mean, that is scary. I'm not saying that, like, no, you should totally be able to just have a dude with a bazooka standing on the roof of your house 24 hours a day as, like, a multimillionaire, Nah, that's probably not cool, bro. But there's a difference between that and everyone having a dude with a bazooka standing on their roof 24 hours a day all the time. Which honestly, if that's what private security was, I'd be way more into it. I kind of love the idea of it's just like mutually assured bazooka. It's just everybody gets a bazooka, dude. I kind of love that.
It's like there will be peace, or we will all be rended under the destruction of this bazooka apocalypse. Bazookacalypse. Bazookacalypse.
Yeah, I love that idea. Yeah, I mean, for me, the closing thought is basically just like, we're getting towards the end of the book when shit like this is happening.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, it's not even like the whole Orwellianness, the Orwellianness of it is one thing, which is obviously pretty terrifying. But then, like, aside from that, it's just like the other aspect of it of just like, the way that everybody is just so desperate to, build businesses and monetize, anything to the point where people are just like monetizing shit like this, where it's like, it's this hollow expression of like, we wanted to create a company to help, protect people and, revolutionize public safety, but it has nothing to do with that. It's just another cockamamie way to make money with a business. And like the fact that it is this private security thing is just, it's a hook. It's just like, this is the unique thing we do that sets us apart from everybody else. This is how we're disrupting. They don't give a fuck about, like, these people don't care about public safety at all, like in any way. There's not even a shred of care. It's just a company that they started. It could literally be anything. Andrew Frame could have had an idea for doing the Uber of butt plugs, and it wouldn't have made a difference.
Find this guy. Get him now. $30,000 to get the guy whose butt perfectly fits this butt plug.
Yeah, just him ranting on Slack, and it would have made no difference to him. He would have approached either thing with the exact amount of enthusiasm and personal involvement and investment. And that quote, that whole thing was another example. That just exemplifies my point, because that whole thing where he's like ranting on Slack and being like, he's a bad guy, get him, all that stuff. Like, I've known so many people working in tech and new media, like CEOs and executives at startups, who they act exactly like that about anything. Like they act like that is not somebody who's like fueled by the passion of like wanting to hunt down a criminal. That is just any executive at any startup company talking about anything. It's that, or it's like it could be that, or it could be like fucking publishing clickbait. He's just acting like any executive at any startup.
I'm Dave Baker.
And I'm Andrew Price.
This has been Deep Cuts. You can find me on the internet at heydavebaker.com, on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at xdavebakerx. And please go buy my book, Everyone is Tulip, in bookstores and comic book stores everywhere right now. Andrew, before we get to the pizza, paparizza, meme, celebrizza, where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me rousing a angry mob of thousands of concerned citizens to track down a criminal and bring him to the only justice that matters, the justice of the citizen. And you can also find me at dapricerights.com, where you can get my comic Deadbolt AI Private Eye, which is about a totalitarian state of sorts of its own. And you can also get some Deep Cuts merch by going to deepcutspod.com and clicking on the shop, or you can just go to bit.ly.com/deepcutsmerch. And you can get some t-shirts, you can get some mugs, you can get some fucking fanny packs, all with some glorious Deep Cuts designs. You can get a Deep Cuts Junior Sleuth shoulder patch by going to deepcutspod.com or heydavebaker.com or dapricerights.com and going to our stores. And It's available on there. And now we're gonna do our second ever edition of looking at some deep cuts memes. Not necessarily pizza paparizza, because we kind of
used all those. But this segment for right now is just gonna, until we have a better name, is gonna be the pizza paparizza meme appreciates.
Because of course, I mean, the perfect name for it, thought of 1 week too late.
Or was it thought of 1 second before I said it?
I know, but I'm saying, like, you thought of it 1 second before you said it 1 week too late.
Yes, absolutely. All right, let's do this. Show me these memes so we can rate them. For anybody who doesn't know, in our Facebook group, the Deep Cuts Podcast Facebook group on Facebook, we have a very vibrant, rowdy bunch of idiots in there. Andrew and I are in there. And if you want to come hang out with us, please do so. And fairly regularly, memes get posted in the group that are related to deep cuts. So Andrew and I are now going to rate a couple of those memes.
Yep. I think that's all I can find for now. Okay, so first of all, this is kind of a meme. It's kind of an inside baseball meme.
All of these memes are inside baseball, but yes.
But even inside baseball for even these memes. So last time we did this, we did a review of the pizza paparizza memes, and we narrowed it down to a winner. It was a toss up between Deep Cuts listener Mike Miller and Deep Cuts listener Aaron Dockery, and Aaron won by a tiebreaker where I chose his meme and then Dave acquiesced, because just so there would be a winner. And so another Deep Cuts listener, Blas Juarez, he created a meme or a Photoshop or whatever, that is basically, he decided that, that Mike and Aaron needed to be taken down and that somebody else needs to beat them in the next meme competition. So he created like a Old West style wanted poster where it's a picture of the two of them and they're wanted. And so it has a picture of them and it says Mike and Aaron and it says wanted, and they're wanted by Hillsmer Baby Prison Inc., which is like that it's just so inside baseball, because you just, in the last episode,
you don't need to explain it. It's not even a running bit. It's just that is a reference to things from the show.
And then at the bottom it says wanted for major meme war crimes. Reward is a solid letter of recommendation from Hillsmer.
That's solid. I give that the Fellini 8.5.
8.5
pizzas out of 10 pizzas.
This next meme, which I love quite a lot, it's another one by our boy Mike Miller. And it is the distracted boyfriend meme, where there's a guy walking down the street holding his girlfriend's hand, but then he sees another girl, which honestly I've always thought is funny because she looks the same as his girlfriend. It's like they could be twins. But he is distracted by her. He's looking back with a look on his face of like, oh shit, that's a spicy meatball.
The frivolity and casualness of that's a spicy meatball.
And his girlfriend is noticing that and she's angry. Meanwhile, the passing woman is oblivious to all of this. So over the boyfriend, it says Andrew and Dave. And then over the angry girlfriend that he's ignoring, it says the fact that they'd be able to set up a Velocity Gnome type ARG on at least 10 people in this Facebook group. And then the passing woman that he's staring at, it says being in a Velocity Gnome type ARG. And this is referencing in the last episode, the Velocity Gnome episode about a 3-year-long prank / performance art experiment / augmented reality game that two guys played on a 19-year-old kid. We talked about the fact that while it would be really cool to have thought of this and done it to somebody, it would actually be even better to have it done to you. And that I would trade the personal fulfillment and creative clout of having constructed this insanely creative piece of artistic expression. I would trade it for being able to organically experience this thing done to me. And that's what this meme is referencing.
7.
7. Yeah, it's pretty solid. It's pretty fair and solid assessment. This is something we're gonna look at last. So this is even more inside baseball. But in response to winning the last meme competition or whatever, Aaron Dockery photoshopped a picture. It's a stock photo of the Queen.
Yeah, that's the Queen giving some sort of award or trophy to someone.
Yeah, she's giving an award to some guy in a suit while another guy in a suit stands in the background. But he has manipulated the context of this to make it look like, so basically the guy with the suit, he's put Dave's face on it. And then the other guy in the suit standing in the background, he's put my face on it. And then he put his own face onto the Queen's face. So he's recontextualized it that the guy is handing the trophy to the Queen instead of the other way around. And so Dave is handing Aaron his meme trophy while I'm standing in the background. And as I pointed out, the photo that he chose for my face and the way he put it onto the body, it makes it look like I'm like looking around, like serving as a lookout while Dave hands him the trophy. Like we've like stolen the trophy from a different competition and we're just quickly trying to give it to Aaron's and not get caught.
9.5.
9.5? Oh, wow. That's strong.
I love that. I think it's so funny.
This is another response to having to the results of the meme competition. So these memes are all super self-referential. So the meme that won by Aaron was rather than getting into what the meme was, it was a meme that utilized the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory movie in the meme. And then the other meme that was the runner-up that Mike did that almost won was referencing Splash Mountain at Disneyland. So Mike has taken that meme where it's the woman angrily screaming at a cat that's sitting at a table, where usually the meme is used for the woman to be like screaming something that is like supposed to be the right way something is, and then the cat is just like indignantly saying the opposite of what she's saying. And so in this meme, the angry screaming woman, the text over her says Splash Mountain, implying that Mike is like insisting that Splash Mountain was the winner, and then the cat is indignantly saying that Charlie and the Chocolate Factory was the winner.
I'm gonna go with Fellini, man. 8.5. I think this one would be higher for me if it wasn't so indigestible. Like, I know what this is and you know what this is, but if you haven't listened to like this specific 1 minute window, like there's a lot of Mothman memes and a lot of general kind of Hillsmer deep cuts memes in the group, and they're very funny. These are funny, but they're funny in a different way, where they probably would be getting higher if they weren't so specific. And I understand why. Like, they were reactions to what was happening last week when the episode came out.
Yeah. That's not anything. That's not really anything either. I don't think that's really like a specific deep cuts meme. These memes aren't even really memes. They're just a long con. They're a long game troll more than a meme. There was a few more.
Wasn't there one about like there was a Andrew WK reacts to Mothman?
Yeah, it's up here. Yeah, I mean this isn't even really like much of a meme either, but I thought I liked it because, so basically a couple weeks ago, I think maybe we've said this on the show before, I forget, but a couple weeks ago, Andrew WK shared our Andrew WK Deep Cuts episode. If you've heard it, we did a 4-hour episode about how Andrew WK is actually a fictional character portrayed by a performance artist. And like a year later after publishing it, Andrew WK shared it. And so it was kind of a big deal. We were talking about it in the group and being like, holy shit, this is crazy. And then he started he posted other things. He posted some stuff in his Instagram stories about us, and he posted some other links to some other things. So it was kind of like, it was a whole thing for like a week or so. And so Aaron Dockery made a thing, which is not really a meme, but it's just a funny thing. He basically created like a thumbnail for like a fictional YouTube video. And so it says Mothman reacts to Andrew WK's reaction. And so it's a screenshot of Andrew WK's tweet about our episode. And then it's got Andrew WK photoshopped on top of that, like he's reacting to it. Like there's a video of Andrew WK reacting to our episode. And then on top of that, there's like a Mothman. It's like a guy, but he's got like a monster mask on. And he's reacting to Andrew WK reacting to our episode.
You know what he says at the end of that video?
And it's like the thumbnail to that video.
You know what Mothman says at the end of that video, though? Oh, they gon' fuck.
Yep. I mean, that's how he ends all of his reactions.
Yeah, I'm gonna go the solid the pineapple pizza paparizza. That's a 10 for me. That's pretty solid.
Yeah, I mean, coming from somebody who has worked in social media and content publishing for nearly a decade, and who's primarily focused largely on social media distribution strategy and creating thumbnails, and somebody who actually created a very specific type of thumbnail early in my career that was universally adopted and used by everyone in the world. This is actually a good thumbnail. That was the thing that stuck out to me, where I was like, this is like a funny joke or whatever, but this is actually a really good thumbnail. Like, this would, like, if somebody made this thumbnail and I was like approving it, I wouldn't have any notes. Yeah, well, we can call it there in terms of memes, but there's one more thing I want to look at. So, this is not necessarily a meme, but and this is also like possibly the weirdest, most esoteric, most like inside baseball, most like I kind of don't even get it of all of these, but another Deep Cuts listener, Ed Zachary, made a comic that confounds me. Did you see this?
This is the first time I'm seeing this. No, I have not seen this.
So the comic is...
It's a one-page comic. Wow.
One-page comic, and it's like sort of drawn in like stick figures. And so in the first panel, I'm standing and then a baby falls out of the sky and I'm like, huh? And then it zooms out and there's like
it's Mothman, dude. That's Mothman.
Yeah, it's like Mothman, and he is the one who's dropped the baby, and he goes, "Oh fuck, babies are slippery." And then also while it's zoomed out, we see that I am standing next to a building, a jail that says Ritza County Baby Jail.
Okay, all right.
And then the third panel just zooms in on the jail, so you can
on
read
the jail. Yeah, Ritza County Baby Jail.
And then the fourth panel, I've picked up the baby, and the picture of me, I have the word Papa written on my shirt. And I'm saying, what the fuck do I do with this? I don't have time for this. Deep Space Nine is coming on soon.
Oh, the baby's me?
Oh, yeah, you're the baby.
Oh, I'm the baby.
I was getting to that, yeah. And so I look at the baby, and I think the baby is like squeezing my nose. Like the baby reaches up and like grabs my nose, which is a thing that babies definitely do. And I say, hey, little weird human baby bakes, want to go to the baby jail?
And then the next panel is the baby saying, like, I'm gonna say no, which is a meme it's been in the group for a while of me. That's like my catchphrase.
This is the best part of it. This is the part that's my favorite, because it zooms in on the baby that's you, and you say, like, I'm gonna say no. And he is like, in his best approximation in this like stick figure art, he has made you look like you look in that picture where your hair is like sticking up and you've got that like crazed look on your face. And you say, like, I'm gonna say no. And then it cuts to the next panel. You're in the jail
with the Mothman, who's smoking a joint.
Mothman is there too. For some reason, Mothman is in the jail with you. And you're like in the jail cell and you're looking up at him surprised or shocked or scared or something. And then the last panel, Mothman's sitting in the jail cell and he says, hey, little baby bakes, don't worry, I'm gonna take good care of you. And then the very last panel is just a close-up of your face, your little baby face, and you're like super freaked out. And you say, I knew I should have stayed with Freddy last night.
Which is a reference to what I confessed on an episode a long time ago, which is a kid, I wanted to be friends with Freddy Krueger. This is amazing. Ed, well done. Definitely 10 out of 10 pizzas for the pizza paparizza mimarizza.
No, I'm going full gone fishing on this. Borderline 11.
This is amazing. Wow. This is surreal. This is like next level, man. What the fuck?
And it's like it's got so many references packed into it, but then they're also like interpreted in these weird abstract ways. Like he didn't just like fit in fan service. Like he took references and then like he like molded them and shaped them to like fit into this weird surreal story.
Yeah, man, it's strange, and I'm so into it. Wow. Well, of those, I think the winner of the second annual Pizza Paparita Mimarita is definitely that comic. That was above and beyond. That was fucking insane.
No argument here.
All right. Well, this has been Deep Cuts. I'm gonna go stare out into the night and try and process what the fuck that comic is about.
Deep Cuts is a production by Boy Genius Media. If you'd like to find this show and others like it, please visit boygeniusmedia.com or deepcutspod.com.
If you want to join in on post-episode discussions, please join the Deep Cuts Podcast Facebook group. Finally, subscribe to our YouTube channel for additional video content.
The incidental music for this episode was created by D. Catalano, whose music can be found at wekeepoddhours.bandcamp.com, and The Dead Boy Detectives.